Hi there everyone, Thomas Lancaster here, and I want to talk about something that's really interested me as somebody who is a computer scientist, interested in artificial intelligence, interested in academic integrity and ensuring that students get credit for doing their own work, but which can also be quite a controversial subject, which is how do students go ahead with generating essays, generating assignments without putting in the work for themselves. And as I say, it's quite a controversial subject. Look at me in my artificial intelligence generated background because of the blue going through. I notice in the background, despite my best attempts at a green screen effect here, then what can a student do without putting the work in for themselves? And on top of that, we are seeing, as of October of 2022, some very proficient technology for writing words that look like they're in academically good English, that they follow the ideas of other people, that if you run them through originality checking software, you may call that plagiarism checking software, the exact structure of wording look like it's quite original, then students can get away with using technology. So how as educators do we make sure that students are using this technology in the right way? They're not taking advantage, not getting qualifications they don't deserve, they're not getting degrees they don't deserve, they're not getting a job that someone else might want. And you may think about this as I just change my view over to look at my screen, that I'm going to be sharing a great amount of knowledge that we do not want to be shared. But let's face it, if I can figure this out as somebody who is a computer scientist but whose skills are a few years out of date, then our students can do too. But even above that, the people who are writing assignments and essays for students can also figure this one out for themselves. So I've just searched here ideas for essay titles. So let's go to, I mean, this clearly is a company which is going to do the work for students on their behalf. Let's search for a sample title for an essay. Let's put in business. I'm a computer science, I know very little about business, but I could go in and get these kind of topics here that we're seeing. Let's look at some sample essays. They say they've got, was that 90,000? I think it was 900,000 possible sample essays. Bear in mind, these are probably essays that students have uploaded to them, not ones that they've been paid to produce. The students think what they're getting is a plagiarism check or some feedback, but they've essentially not looked at the terms and conditions of the site. They've given away their work for free to a potentially suspect company about this. So let's choose one of these topics. I've not pre-prepared this. You can probably tell by my bluffing through this, as I always do, but the kind of things students may be asked to write about in business. What motivates an individual to become an entrepreneur and start a startup business? I hate the words start and startup within 3 words of each other. Very hard to say. Conduct interpersonal negotiations in business, business leadership and management. Consider the food business and explore 3 economic concepts. That looks like quite a good one. My interest in starting business. These reflection essays, by the way, I've been experimenting with this. They're incredibly easy to write. How to use change management to transform your business. These are very sample essays. How technology affects business operators. You can read through these as well as I can. So let's, I'm not going to about law because law is very dependent on jurisdiction. But let's look at this one. Food business. I know very little about the food business. Let's copy this as a title. So I'm going to show you several ways that I could use to generate an essay. They may or may not work. That is the power of doing a video. But let's say we wrote something like this in OpenAI's playground. OpenAI is essentially a technology. Let me write this in title. I'll just expand that in a minute. OpenAI is a Very large company which has specialized in developing text generation models. They have millions of examples of sample text. They've worked out what new text looks like, how to construct that in the style of a human. Sometimes it is better than others. This is their playground. Essentially, you can experiment with this. If you know what you're doing, you can just type in requests. You can buy systems that work on top of this technology. They charge a lot more money, but I'm going straight to the source. My cost of doing this video will probably cost me about $1 by the time I have tried out the various things that I'm hoping to show you today when doing this. There. So this is their index. I can put in a topic here. I did not expect to get great results out because, like all technology, you need a certain understanding of how it works. But if I was to put in a request here, write an essay with the title "Consider the Food Business, Explore 3 Economic Concepts," and just give this to this model as an instruction, let's go away and see what it does. You can look the green text and see this is being generated as we speak there. And what I did not do is change a topic over here, maximum length, which essentially says how many tokens can I use. And the rule is 1 token is 4 characters. You think about a typical word being 8 characters and 256 tokens, 128 words. So let's put this value up by a bit. This should continue generating from where we got up to before. So you can see that now, and we have a bit more text, and this has got to an end point with maybe 200 words there, and it's got something that looks vaguely like an essay. It's not terribly good. I'm not going to do too much more with this particular version, but that is just to show you how that works. Let me delete that and let me add a bit more information to this. So here are some instructions. You should write this essay using strong academic English, something like that. The essay should be around 500 words long. Now, one point about this technology, let me just push this number up here a bit, because I said about 2 words to one number there, so 1124 should be enough, is that it will not always give you 500 words. But what it has done is it has worked out that we want 3 economic concepts. And remember, I know nothing about the food business. It has put first concept, second concept, and third concept. What is lacking really is some way of bringing this essay to a close. So what might this teach us as somebody who is trying to write an essay? I'm trying to think here about how we might use this technology in a legitimate fashion. It might give us some ideas we could develop when we are writing an essay for ourselves. And if we were to run this again, we would get different concepts coming through. And as I say, I know very little about writing essays. I don't write them as a computer scientist. I certainly know very little about business and about food for that one there, but I might look at this and think these are things I wanted to pick up. Now I'm going to show you some other settings that a student could use if they were going to run this multiple times at a few cents a time. They can afford to do that. First of all, this setting here, temperature, there for this particular model DaVinci 2. If you move this to the left, it makes it more predictable, less creative. If you move to the right, it makes it less predictable and more creative. Let's push this up to 0.8 here. Maximum length is not going to make a bit of a difference. We can also use this number frequency penalty. Essentially, this says don't use the same tokens, or in this case, the same words over and over again. I normally push this up to around 0.3 or 0.35, it doesn't matter. And present penalty, that if these words or these tokens have appeared already, then we don't want to reconsider this. I think about this particularly in terms of a conclusion. When I teach students about writing a conclusion, it is to build upon previous work. It is not simply to repeat the previous work. So again, I can push this up, and there are various other things you can do here because this is a model. You can explore these. You get some free credits to start off your use of the OpenAI software GPT-3. But let's run this again. Let's see what we get back. Food business is a complex and multifaceted industry. Again, please go ahead and read this. Watch it generate. For this one, it's put the 3 concepts within a single second paragraph. This one here, which is clearly going to be too short. So, all right, so what can we learn from this? That we can get probably 150 words by running it this way. So a student is going to, or a contract tutoring provider is going to look at this and think, what more could we do? And what would I do next? And bear in mind, I'm not showing you the very best things I've done. This is an introduction for the purpose of helping academic integrity, people interested in educators and academic integrity for knowing what to do. I could write something like, you are a business student who has to write an essay with the title this. Come up with, provide a structure for the essay with the points you're going to make in order. So in other words, all we're trying to do is to come up with ideas and structure. Let's see what this one does. I've still got the relatively creative requirements in there. And now we've got 6 points we could make in our essay in order. And you may look at this, there will be food expert business people in here who are thinking these are not the best way of going about this, but essentially the economy, economic concepts, how these are relevant to business students, supply and demand, key business topic, I know, production and cost, and the market structure. So I could look at this, and in fact, if I was smart, again, I could run this multiple times for ideas. And how would a structure, if I was using this in the right way, I might use a structure to write my essay around it. But I could do more. So let me show one more method I have been working on. My method is going to be to provide this structure directly to the playground here. So again, you're a business student who has to write an essay with the title Consider the Food Business and Explore 3 Economic Concepts. I have to think a bit on my feet here about how I would structure this essay based on everything I've read here. So I would say something like replace the braces in the following structure with appropriate paragraphs. And also before that, and this comes from experimentation, you don't get this in one go. The essay should be written using a high standard of academic English. All right. So I might write something like the first brace. So within these braces, it should write something. Give a catchy title. So these are just instructions to a machine. Provide an introduction to the essay. That will do for now. I must have tried to write this in quite a generic way because you could plug in another essay title for this, as I have done. List your first economic concept and how it applies to the food business. So why this is important. And for speed, I'm going to write here, list your second and your third. Now, if you had your own ideas, you can actually provide these concepts within these braces or in the introductory text up here, rather than relying on the machine to generate it for you. Let's say something like bring your points together with examples. This is quite generic, and provide a conclusion. And we'll just let's see what that does. I've got these settings set so it can be quite creative, that it can hopefully not reuse points too much. Let's just push these penalties here up a little bit to see what it does and click submit. So I've got a title, the three biggest economic concepts in the food business. And you can see here, I hope, we're getting paragraphs rather than sentences. I want to quite stress it does not always work. Sometimes you have to run this multiple times. I'm quite fortunate. I don't want to record this video again from the start, but sometimes this quite happens there. And I suspect we've got 400, 500 words here. It doesn't look very much the way it's compressed on the screen, but it is a good starting point. So I'm not terribly happy with the conclusion, bringing it all together. I'm not the best essay writer in the world because as I may have mentioned earlier on, I do not tend to write a great deal of essays by default. But what would I do with this material? First of all, I might run this 5 times to see if I get a better result out of the system. I might go back and I might decide these are the concepts I want to talk about and provide a bit more information, or to give a bit more instructions. I may well edit this, and the one thing the system can't quite do all that well at the moment is to add references. So I could go further. But how could I use this to my advantage? I could construct an essay without a huge amount of understanding of what's going on behind the scenes here. I could send this to an academic department designed to help me to improve my essays, get feedback from them, and essentially they would do a lot of the work for me. I could send this to a proofreader. I could send this to a copy editor, ask them to improve it. That definitely happens. And because it starts off my own work, that is not really so suspect. If I was working for a contract cheating provider, i.e. I was a writer paid by the word, I would definitely use this technology to cut down my workload, because how long has this taken me? 15 or 20 minutes, including showing you things I know would not work. So in reality, 10 minutes there. And it just saved me an hour or two of my time. I pay by the word, the page, not the hour. The faster I can turn this around, the better. So I would have here potentially a very good starting point. I could expand this. I could actually, with this technology, I've got to show you how, I could decide I don't like this paragraph, replace it with a better one or a longer one. I could decide I want a better conclusion here, replace it with a better one, bring all these ideas together. And there really is technology out there which will help to find references, to expand on things. Now, so why am I sharing all of this, bearing in mind that essentially what I'm talking about could be quite dangerous? Well, because we have smart students out there. We have students who have already figured this out. You look on Reddit, you will see people boasting that they use this technology to write their assignments for them. There. We certainly have people in the contract cheating industry who are doing all of this. They know this, whether it is a whole company or whether it is a writer within a company who has figured out they can generate something, it makes perfect sense to them. At the same time, they don't have to go away and defend what they've done. They don't have to go away and rewrite it. It is unlikely to be flagged as unoriginal because these tools, if you use them right, can generate a very original structure of wording, even if the ideas themselves may be unoriginal. If you've seen my Twitter account at Dr Lancaster, then there are lots of examples. I have created examples of things that you would expect would not have a relationship between them, but this system is able to create a link between completely unoriginal ideas for that. So this is, to me, as an educator, of quite a great concern. So what do we do about this? Very much work in progress. If you have ideas, please share them, please tweet about them, please blog about them, please attend academic integrity conferences, but more importantly, please share them with your friends and colleagues who are outside the academic integrity community, who some of them don't even know contract cheating exists, paying someone to do their own work for them. They don't consider that artificial intelligence exists to generate essays or assignments for students. The first thing is that if you understand how to write, then you can also understand what makes a good generated essay or assignment. If you don't understand how to write, you may not understand this. So I can look at this text and think, this makes to me reasonable amounts of sense. Just scanning this in the background and discussing the implications at the same time here. You can generate completely false information because a computer AI machine learning system is trying to work out essentially what structure of words would fit the situation, but it is not considering if the facts match it. So it can be completely factually incorrect, something you can pick up about as an educator in a situation like this. So that is situation number one here. Situation number two here is that this is very bad in adding citations and references. There are separate systems that can do that. There are systems that can go out there, they crawl academic research, particularly abstracts, they have the citations, they can pull all of that together and create a fake literature review for you. And I say semi-fake because actually I've tried some of these out and they're quite intelligent. And they can pick out things like the methodology, compare methodologies, and pick out things like the metrics, the results, and compare those. But clearly they don't have the human intelligence that supports all of this. And so if you're missing all the references, it's not great. I think as a computer scientist, I have some ideas about how to add that information to these essays. I don't want to share those with you today because it is very dangerous and most students can't do that. But computer scientists, people who even know how to crawl the web, how to use Python, who understand research, can do that. There. Please do share your own ideas for picking out on this kind of technology. I have only created short essays, 500 words or so. Chances are you've asked for more words from a student than that. I've played around with English literature essays. They're very bad at adding quotes from novels in here, even if the ideas are quite well known to add here. Again, I'm not an English literature major by any extent of information. My knowledge of English literature was the UK's A-level English literature, which really essentially means you just have to be able to add some quotes to essays and say how they back up a particular theme for that one. But yeah, so this is a starting point. Generate ideas, generate essays. People will be trying to work out how to beat the system, because that is simply what people can do. And I have a huge number of examples. You can create fiction, you can create poetry. I've actually reviewed final year projects, MSc projects within computer science, looking to improve the quality of poetry, improve the rhymes, improve limericks, areas like that, because the kind of things you do as a computer scientist. This technology will only be getting better. So how do we assess students on their understanding? How do you make sure the core skills, because being able to write is always going to be a core skill. How do you make sure they're not rewarded for simply running a computer system, even if that is something they're going to be doing in the business world? So wide range of ideas as always. Thank you so much for watching this video with the kind of things that I have been working on here. There are lots of opportunities. I could do some great research here. I could say this is what I've generated. This is the originality scores and similarity scores. This is how I would defeat the system. I don't know if it's a good idea. If you think it is, please tell me to do so. But this very much is OpenAI GPT-3, one of many systems for writing in natural language. My PhD 20 years ago looked at taking plagiarism. This is not original work. It's not plagiarism. The words are not the same. I have not paid anyone else to write it. I've paid a machine to write it. What is the challenge here? So I hope you've found this interesting and useful, that AI is not going to go away, and 30th of October 2022, in a year's time, there will be even more out here, not just in terms of text, but in terms of program code, in terms of images, in terms of music, in terms of diagrams, in terms of structures, in terms of reflection, in terms of PowerPoint slides. You name it, a computer can do it. How do we work with this technology? Support our students, prepare them for our future. Thank you. Thomas Lancaster. Check out the blog, thomaslancaster.co.uk/blog, and see you in the future.